What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FP Kicks and Gear, and I am back with another legit check guide video. And this time we have the Jordan 3 Reimagined. Now, I was lucky enough to get these for retail, thankfully, and I have had this rep pair on deck for a while. I've held off on actually making a video on it because I wanted to make sure I had an authentic pair on hand, and now I do. So we'll go into all the details. We'll talk about the box, we'll talk about the shoes and all that good stuff, and hopefully we're smarter at the end of this video than when we started. So first things first, I'm going to leave detailed pictures of everything that I talk about for the rep pair on this Instagram account right here. I'm gonna let it pop up on the screen. You're gonna see all of the nitty gritty that I talked about in this video, so you can really zoom in. You'll be able to find all of the pictures on this Instagram account. With that said, let's start. First thing that I'm noticing right from the jump when it comes to these pairs is the box. Now, the box looks more or less the same, very small differences. First thing that I can see right from the start, the box sizes are different. We've got, for a size 11, you've got this standard size Jordan 3 box. The authentic pair here on the right, you can see that they are different sizes. The rep box is a little bit smaller. You can see the Jumpman being a little bit smaller. And this is generally the case when it comes to authentic pairs versus the replica counterpart. They definitely tried to mirror some of this wear pattern all around the box. It's not exact, it's definitely pretty close, because you can see that the groupings of wear are there, right? You see this here, you see that there. It's just a lot less. So it feels like this was photocopied a couple of times while this one wasn't. So that's the box size. When you go to the tag, one of the easiest ways to call out a rep, if you're looking at the box, is to look at the tag. While the appearance tends to look the same, the font on rep pairs is almost always thicker than on the authentic pair. So if you look at this here, look at the authentic pair, you see that nice thin lettering. You can see that the lettering is thicker across the board. Look at that Air Jordan 3 Retro compared to the one on the bottom. Look at the actual color code, Summit White, Fire Red, Black, much thicker. Same thing goes for the lettering. Overall, pretty easy way to tell. This is almost always the case when it comes to reps. And that's pretty much it for the box. Let's open the box and let's look at one accessory in here, and then we'll go on to the shoes. So I've got both shoes out. Before we talk about the shoes, I want to talk about the card that comes with the shoes. One of the reasons why I said it feels like a lot of the outer packaging was like photocopied is because when you look at this card right here, you can see that they're very similar, but you notice one really big difference. It says solely alone right here on the tag. So this is actually like a watermark. If you go to Solely Alone's Instagram account, you see that he had released early photos of the packaging for the shoe, and he left his little watermark there. And can you tell where on the Instagram picture that he left his watermark? Yeah, right there. Looks like the Rep Factories just took that image and for whatever reason left the watermark there. So I thought that that was funny. Other than that, it's pretty different. If you look at the patterns, the elephant print patterns on the side, and you look at the wear around, but it's still pretty different. And not only that, this is a really thick paper stock and the authentic one is really flimsy. So just something to take a look at. If you see that Solely Alone, you should be weary. If it feels like thick index card type paper, you know it's wrong too. Now that we've talked about that, let's actually get into the shoes. Here is the authentic pair right here. We'll do a quick 360. I am definitely feeling these shoes. I love the aged kind of motif that this has going on. Really good materials, not super premium, but still pretty good. And here is the rep pair. And just since we're so far into the video, I'll leave the Instagram account right here where you can see more images of the shoe, so that my 360 doesn't really matter here, but you'll be able to see more. So this is the shoe. And I will say that there's probably the most noticeable difference that you'll see between my authentic pair and this rep pair is the elephant print, but I've 100% seen elephant print that looks like this on authentic pairs. It can look like this. It can look like the older, thinner, fainter styling of the 1988. Personally, I prefer this type of pattern. I don't really mind this either because this is the pattern that I grew up with for the most part, but just know the differences in elephant print do not matter here. So one of the things that I like to look for, and this is actually like a small thing, but I see it consistently on authentic pairs, is this little widow's peak here. It's a small kind of detail, but it is there, and it's here specifically on the toe. My pair has it here. I've seen it on and off here, but I'm looking for it on this toe right here specifically. And if you look at the reps, they have it. That's the first thing that I look for. One thing that I think really stands out and honestly looks a little bit better on the reps is the laces. Now, the authentic pair comes with some slightly aged laces. They're not like super crisp white like the white leather is, but they're definitely not as sail as the rep pair here. It's like night and day. I actually think the rep pair looks a lot better because it complements the lace holders and the paint a little bit better. But while we're talking about that, we can really start going into what the majority of the differences are going to be between the rep and the authentic pair. And that is going to be in the accents that are colored and the accents that are aged. So the first thing that you can look at here is the eye stays right here. And you can see that the authentic pair definitely tries to go for this aged motif as well. But it's just not as aged and as cream as the rep pair is. They kind of complement the laces. You can see that this is almost a off-white kind of vibe to it, while this has a creamier, pinker, almost like a blush kind of undertone to it. And when you go to the midsoles, it's almost the exact reverse. On the authentic pair, it's a little bit more blush on the aged painted sole, and it's a little bit paler, a little bit more cream. You guys can see that difference. I've been doing a lot of real versus fake videos for the past couple of years, and it almost always comes down to when Nike does these aging effects, the rep factories really struggle to get it, whether it's paint, whether it's the aged midsole of like a Travis Scott Jordan 1. They always struggle a little bit, and you can see they do have that difference, and that difference also extends to the back. You can see that the Nike Air on the rep, although they look pretty good, you can see that this is just a little bit more, it's just a little bit darker. And you can really see it with the contrast between the white stitching and the plastic heel tab in the back. Obviously, you can notice a slight bit of heel difference as well. It's generally not the height that matters the most in terms of legit checking. What it is that the way this is shaped, the authentic pair comes up to a certain extent and it kind of rolls forward. You see that little hump? While the rep just goes straight up. It just goes straight up, and that actually plays into why it's a little bit taller. So pay attention to that, little subtle shape things. Let's take a look at the other shoe actually, just so that we can get a sense of the difference more. You can see that the reps are very consistent with each other, so it's not like a thing that varies. They are just darker. Not too bad, but they are darker, so pay attention to that. Let's take a look at the embroidery on the tongue. Now, the authentic pair, the factory lacing is a lot tighter than on the rep, so ignore how loose the tongues look in terms of shape, but take a look at those Jumpmen. They are very close in color. The Jumpman on the rep is just slightly darker. It's a slightly darker red, while this is a more vibrant fire red that we're used to seeing. Sizing wise, looks pretty good. The embroidery looks fantastic on the rep, so don't try and pinpoint quality and think that you can find that out. Let's go over to the midsole here. Let's take a look and see if there's any major color differences. Authentic pair on the top, rep on the bottom. They're pretty consistent between the two. It is just on the bottom, you can see the rep is definitely darker, a little bit darker of a gray, while this is more of a cool gray up at the top. Tooling wise, they look exactly the same. They feel exactly the same. Stars are bold. And so one thing that I want to show you guys is the size tag on the back of the tongue. My pair says LN4, while the rep says VV1, and that's in reference to the factory that they're made at. I know for a fact that the authentic pairs were made across multiple different factories, so mine says LN4, and I know there are others. I don't know if there are any authentic pairs that say VV1 yet, so pay attention to that. I'm not 100% sure. I can't tell you that, but I know that LN4 makes a good amount of the authentic pairs. But other than that, it's really, there's really not much to look at here. They even stuffed it with paper instead of a shoe tree, just like the authentic pair. So the authentic pair has paper in it, as does the rep, but it's just a lot less paper. And then you get a quick look at the insides. More or less the same. And speaking of the insides, keep jumping back because I'm trying to figure this out as we go, guys, but the materials are slightly different color. It's a little bit more faded of a red on the inside of the rep pair. It's a more vibrant red on the inside of the authentic pair. It's slightly, honestly, slightly different whites. It's a warm white on the inside of the rep, and it's almost like a cooler white on the inside of the authentic pair. So now, when it comes down to it, it looks like 99% of the difference here are in color. The materials are exactly the same exact quality materials, padding, craftsmanship looks exactly the same. Look at that toe box shape. They both taper and have that slim, flat toe box, so that's good. You know, my authentic pair isn't perfect. Look at the craftsmanship here. It's kind of funky. Personally, I don't care too much, but and you look at the craftsmanship on the rep, all around, it's pretty good. So you're not calling these out based on quality. It's the colors that really set things apart. Pay attention to the laces, pay attention to the lace holders, pay attention to the painted midsole, pay attention to the back tab, pay attention to the gray of the outsole. All of those differ. And then there are little small minor things here and there, but that's pretty much it. These probably will not fool a legit checker, so they can be authenticated. I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Just make sure you have authentic pairs that you can reference. So with all that said, guys, that's the end of the video. And once again, you'll be able to find as many pictures as you need of this shoe on the Ace Shoe Instagram account, and you will see, and it will be of this pair, so you will be able to zoom in, you'll be able to get as many shots of this as you want. And this is just the first video, guys. I promise you there will be more, and we will really get into the nitty-gritty as I explore the shoe and as I build out these guides. So with all that said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.